Hello podcasters! I've just introduced you in an earlier video the TASCAM Mixcast4 as potentially the new king of the podcast recorder market, and it is really. However, right out of the box, there is one setting that you need to really pay attention to, as it could quickly ruin your audio if not taken care of. Listen up, I'll show you what to do. Actually, switch to the second page of the noise suppression settings, because there is a second page. There, end of the video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye for now. You know what? Let's elaborate on that a little. Oh, and by the way, I will also have a bonus tip for you towards the end to save your audio. So make sure to stick around to hear that as well. That was a bit of shameless, but it's worth it, so do that. So to start from the beginning, for all your input channels, yes, not only for the mics, but also for the Bluetooth, for the TRRS phone connection, and for the USB connection, you have the option to switch on noise suppression. Now, this is not only convenient, but also recommended, as it filters out the low-frequency noises around you, like computer fans, aircon, street noises, etc. But, as tempting as it may seem to just switch everything on and think that now all will be well, if you just switch it on, it will be set to a default value which may not suit your particular voice or environment, and then your recording will end up sounding like this. This is a test. Having left the noise suppressor on its default value, it just cuts out too much for my voice and it makes the recording sound totally unnatural, frankly unusable. Of course, I have exaggerated the effects a little bit for demonstration purposes, so you won't likely get the same dramatic failures, but if you just get 10% of what you heard just now, you're not going to be entirely happy with this device. And this is not good, so let's make sure you are happy with this device. Now, this is something you cannot correct in post. You just can't. It's baked into the recording. That ship has sailed. Luckily, however, you can easily prevent this from happening. For all your voice settings, you have the option to set them up manually. Because as you switch them on, you will see this tools icon appear, which then brings you to the manual setting pane of that particular voice setting. In our case, the noise suppressor's manual settings. Now here comes the tricky part, because the one value you really have to adjust is just not visible here. And if you treat user manuals like probably everybody, then this is where you start to be really frustrated, as whatever you do, you can't make it work properly using only the settings that you see on the screen right now. What is a little hard to notice is that there are two little arrows at the bottom of the screen. One showing left and one showing to the right. If one of these arrows are slightly brighter with a white arrow in it, as opposed to being slightly darker with a grayed out arrow in it, it means that you have a second page as well. And this is where you find the most important value, which is the threshold. So by default, if I reset it quickly, it's set to minus 36 dB. For me, it does not work. It is way too high, and as you could hear before, it makes the recording sound very artificial, and there are way too many places where it just cuts out the audio. And this is where I said in the original Mixcast4 review video that you really need to be careful, and there's a bit of experimenting needed. For me, the minus 45 dB works just fine, but to be absolutely sure, I'd actually set it to minus 50 dB. Make a test recording and then set it gradually higher and higher. Repeat the same recording and see or hear where it removes the background noises, but at the same time leaves my voice fully recorded. Experiment with it. Every voice, every mic technique, and every environment is different. You'll have to find what is ideal for you. I just leave it on minus 45 dB. So I'm not exactly a UX designer, right? But I would have made it much more apparent that there is an arrow that is pointing to a second page and that there is a second page. Like by utilizing the empty screen real estate between the two arrows to draw the attention to it, like with some colored graphic elements, or even a small hint telling you to press here to get to the second page. So for the sake of completeness, let's just go over the settings to show you how I have set them up for myself. I set the low cut filter to 70 Hz Not much happens in spoken word below that, but then those low frequency rumbles will be removed. At the noise gate, for me the minus 24 dB is a little too aggressive, so I normally set it up to top at minus 16 dB instead. This is mainly to remove as much of the heavy breathing as possible. Second page. Threshold for me is minus 45 dB. Attack and release just regulates how quickly the effect kicks in and how fast it then lets go, so I just left them on their default settings. Now, all is well. But there's the bonus tip I teased you with at the beginning. If you really want to make sure that you don't lose any valuable audio, here's what you need to do. The Mixcast4 can record every channel onto a separate track to the SD card, but that does not prevent you to record it at the same time directly into your DAW as well. I'll show you in one of the next pro tips how to set it up with the Mixcast4. So if you want to be on the absolute safe side, what I do is that I would record into my DAW through the USB connection whatever comes out from the Mixcast4 with all the voice settings enabled, noise gate, de-esser, compressor, etc. And at the same time, record all the tracks to an SD card where you can choose to, wait for it, record everything without the effects, just the clean, dry audio, essentially your safety tracks. So what you need to do is go to the menu, then hardware settings, and multitrack. Here you can first choose if you want the Mixcast4 to record to the SD card in multitrack or not, although I can't imagine why you wouldn't want that. And the second option here is the FX bypass. What this does is it ignores all the voice effect settings you made for your inputs, and if you have messed it up, you still will have a clean recording on the SD card. In one of the next pro tips, I will also show you the dead simple method how to split the polywave files the Mixcast4 records to the SD cards so that you can work with each track separately. So with these two settings, noise suppressor threshold and FX bypass on the SD card recording, your initial recording experiences with the TASCAM Mixcast4 will be much smoother. I hope this helped. Happy podcasting, and bye for now.